keeping in mind that the facts are that Donald Trump often talks like he's tough, like he's ready for these legal fights, like, to use a common parlance, he wants the smoke. Sometimes he makes it sound like he wants all the smoke. But in many of these big cases, Trump University, testifying to Mueller, firing his own staff, Donald Trump don't want the smoke. To paraphrase Gucci Mane, why you flexing, Donald? You don't want no smoke. Keep on taking these pictures, holding these straps, but you are a non-smoker. I'm joined now with David Corn, Washington Bureau Chief Senator Jones. I put the question to you. Does he really want the smoke?
I don't know what Grandmaster Flash would say about this, but I think what we're getting to, the smoke, is maybe existential smoke.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, to destroy white supremacy, we really have to understand white supremacy. And we have to understand how they weaponize everything, including white women. White women weaponize themselves. But for some reason, everybody wants to give white women a pass, when they have probably gotten more black people killed than anybody. Ida B. Wells was one of the first people to expose white women and their role in getting black people lynched. Back in 1892 in her work Southern Horrors. And people really need to check it out. She broke down the dynamic between black men and white women back in the 1800s. She was the first one to show how white women were used, and oftentimes the leaders, of getting so many black people murdered, especially black men. Even though most of these relationships were consensual. She exposed how white men, even though they preferred black women and often raped them, and they did it so much that it created a class of mulattoes in the South. If they thought a white woman even liked a black man, they would hang him. And Miss Ida B. Wells can explain the lynch law better than I can, and she really broke down how the lynch law worked. She explained how white women's word was taken as gospel, even if they consented. Like one white woman who was caught with a black man in her bedroom. She said she just got curtains from her and he was putting them up, and her word was taken as gospel. But in far too many cases, the white women who say, I feel like he's looking at me sexually, their word is taken as gospel too. And even though a majority of these cases was consensual, so many black people was murdered. And Ida B. Wells was the first one to expose how they use media and propaganda to paint us as beasts and savages that just wanted to rape white women. And she broke down how they used the myth of black men lusting for white women to get on code. She explained how when they kill leaders of a movement, other black people will be scared to lift a finger to defend themselves. And how we as black people far too often take white women's word as gospel too, without asking any questions. And Ida B. Wells says she did it to show us how the lynch law worked and the causes for it. And how white women use deception and betrayal to eventually get us murdered. She says she had to show that we are the ones more sinned against than we are the ones doing the sinning. And if she can contribute to us getting ahead in any kind of way, then she felt like she's done a service to her race. She often talked about how every black family should have a gun in their home. And in her work, The Red Record, she took the time to gather every black person's name that had been lynched from the time of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 to the time she finished her work in the 1890s, and to find out the reason why they were lynched. And her work should be taught in schools, and we all should have to learn it. But how did the dominant society respond to it? They burned down her printing press. And of course they threatened to kill her if they ever caught her. But of course it never stopped her from doing the work. But to this day, we're still making the same mistakes. And to this day, if you even think of questioning a white woman's word, or God forbid talking about punishing a white woman, then you'll be immediately punished or reprimanded in some kind of way.
New at 6, the president of the St. Louis County chapter of the NAACP has been suspended tonight. Leaders of the national organization sent a letter to John Gaskins announcing their decision to remove him as president immediately. According to this letter, the decision comes because of Gaskins' support for a Missouri bill that would change how sexual assault is investigated on college campuses, and because of his public support for the Better Together merger. The letter says Gaskins Gaskin is to, quote, cease and desist immediately from holding yourself out as president of the St. Louis County branch of the NAACP. Gaskin can request a hearing on the matter within the next 20 days.
Now, this brother John Gaskins was kicked out of the St. Louis NAACP simply for supporting a bill that would give black men due process of law, especially when accused by white women. Now, most of these cases, especially on college campuses, are disproportionately black people being charged. We see white boys on college campuses getting away with rape that we know about and they're convicted of. But when you talk to the people taking the reports, it's usually white women accusing black men, and a disproportionate amount of the cases. And ever since President Obama passed Title IX, there has been a rise of black men accused on college campuses, mostly by white women. Now, this brother John Gaskins simply supported legislation that would give someone accused a chance to get a lawyer, and they would also get a chance to learn the charges against them and have a chance to cross-examine the witness. But they say this bill would re-victimize survivors and stop others from coming forward. But in American history, nothing has ever stopped white women from coming forward or even threatening to come forward with something that never even happened.
Athletes accused of rape sue university. 2 black college athletes expelled over rape allegations are suing their university, claiming denial of due process and racial discrimination. Students Justin Browning and Alphonso Baity filed the lawsuit against the University of Findlay last month. Browning and Baity were expelled just 2 days after they were accused of rape by a female white student. Neither student has been charged with a crime. According to the lawsuit, Browning and Baity were friends with the woman, identified as MK, and she visited their shared campus house often. The lawsuit says that on September 20th last year, MK approached Baity at a college party and asked where Browning was. When MK saw Browning, she took his cell phone and put her number in it. MK and Browning then danced and kissed. The lawsuit says MK consented to leave the party with Browning. They were joined by more friends at Browning and Baity's house. According to the lawsuit, MK and Browning had consensual sex in the room he shared with Baity. When Baity returned from the party, he went into the room to retrieve a phone charger. He claims MK then invited him to have sex. The lawsuit says MK later left the room naked, saying she might want to vomit, before sitting on a couch and conversing with witnesses. MK had sex with Browning again and spent the night. The students say they were expelled, despite every witness backing up their story. They claim witnesses also said MK later boasted about the sexual encounters. MK made her complaint 10 days after the alleged rapes. Browning and Baity say the university did not follow due process and are demanding damages.
Now, in this case, 2 brothers, 2 college athletes, Justin Browning and Alphonso Baity, both had sex with the same white girl and they're protecting her name, but they were both with her on the same night on 2 different occasions. Now, these 2 brothers and every other witness said it was consensual, the girl spent the night, and she even bragged about what happened to her friends. Then 10 days later, out of nowhere, she filed a written complaint of sexual assault. Now, keep in mind, these 2 brothers were never charged because there was no evidence of assault. But the college, the University of Findlay, issued a campus-wide alert that they had been expelled. And then they put their names and their faces in the local paper. Again, using the media to show black men as the big bad rapists lusting after white women. They never put this white woman face out there or even put her name out there. And these 2 brothers did end up suing the school, saying the investigation and the punishment was a sham. They said this whole thing was motivated by race. Black men make up less than 2% of the student body, but the only other person expelled in the last 2 years was another black man accused by a white woman. In another case, in another college, 5 different brothers were actually arrested because they were accused by a white woman.
Late last week, as students were preparing to go home for Thanksgiving break, allegedly a sexual assault took place here on the campus of William Patterson University in the dorms. And so it's got the whole area talking.
Hear this stuff in the news, but I know it's happening right here. We got to get further in detail of what actually happened, Who knows if they actually did it or not.
5 male students are accused of restraining 1 female student and forcing her to engage in sexual activity with them. The graphic criminal complaint contained words like involuntary servitude, kidnapping, even implied that a gang rape may have taken place. Today at the Passaic County Courthouse, the 5 men had their first day in court. During the hearing, all of the young men either were stone-faced or just appeared afraid before their attorneys entered pleas of not guilty. But a couple interesting things happened. First of all, for a case with this severe charges, it was interesting to see bail reduced from $200,000 to $50,000 for all of the defendants. The other thing that stood out is that the overwhelming majority of people in the courtroom were there to support the defendants. On the way out, I spoke to one of them, and they said they've known one of the defendants for years, and they just don't believe they would do something like this.
Maybe things need to be investigated. Maybe things were misconstrued and misunderstood, and things went a little bit too far.
They're just too smart to do something like this.
This case is getting a lot of attention because it's the second allegation in just a few weeks here in New Jersey, with similar allegations at nearby Ramapo College. People are also paying close attention because statistics have come out that indicate that as many as 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted on college campuses. So everybody's paying attention to the outcome of this case and others like it. Clearly, there are more questions than answers right now, as even Judge Clark acknowledged when she pointed out that none of these men has a criminal record, and she doesn't believe that any of them are a flight risk. If convicted, they could face a maximum of 20 years in prison with all of the different charges.
So in another case at William Patterson College, another white girl, who they also protected her name and didn't put her picture out there, accused 5 black men of locking her in a room. She said they kidnapped her, and then she used the term involuntary servitude, trying to say they enslaved her, and then forced her to perform sexual acts, trying to imply they gang raped her. Now 2 of the brothers, Garrett Collick and Noah Williams, ended up suing. They admitted they did have consensual sex with her after she started it, and they said she initiated it with all 5 of them at some point in the past, at least one time before. But just based off her word, all 5 of these brothers was kicked out of college and arrested. They spent 9 days in jail until a grand jury decided not to indict them because there was no evidence. But despite them being exonerated, the school still refused to change their mind about them being expelled. The president of the college, Kathleen Waldron, another white woman, said the school has their own process, separate from the legal system, and their decision of expelling them still stands. And these brothers who was on scholarship and lost their scholarship can't continue their college education. And even though it's not 100 years ago when the lynch law was in full effect, or even 50 years ago, none of these white women were punished for falsely accusing black men. And until we start holding them accountable, of course the dominant society is going to let them continue to get away with it. We are the only ones that can stop it, and far too often we give them a pass. And if you're somebody that just needs to date interracially so bad, then destroy white supremacy first. But until then, we are all we got. And at some point, we're going to have to get on code so that we can protect ourselves. We don't have any other choice.
The question I have for you, we have had 3 female African-American mayors in a row. They were all passionate public servants. 2 resigned, though. Is it a signal that a different kind of leadership is needed to move Baltimore City forward?
Oh my God.
There it go. Watch it. Not you, man. I'm sorry. You're cool. Keep going. You're good. I'm just recording something. No, you're all right. But look at that. She's supposed to be texting. What the fuck is she doing? How far she go? How low can you go? Miss Officer, how low? Wake the fuck up.
I had a whole bunch of paperwork.
Hey, we're trying to, you want to get out of here fast, right? So if we have more people, y'all niggas been trying to something. You want to get out fast.
Racist ass bitch.
No, that's the cool.
I bet she ain't had that badge on. She won't call us no niggas.
Hey, we're trying to, you want to get out of here fast, right? So if we have more people, y'all niggas been trying to something. If you want to get out of here faster, we have more of our friends to help you get out faster. Nope, that's a quote. Those were your words. I would still say it because what I'm doing is repeating your words.
I was very disturbed by both the short Snapchat or Instagram video, but then also the longer 12-minute video from the officer's body-worn camera.
Basil, you're up next. You got anything?
The level of disrespect and, in my view, that the officers treated the young men was totally uncalled for. Obviously, the use of that disparaging term is uncalled for and unacceptable. And the police, to their credit, have admitted that. But I think we need to be looking also at the other actions of other officers in that longer 12-minute video.
You're one angry individual.
In my view, for a response for a loitering or trespassing call for people that are standing outside waiting for an Uber to take them to work, it's not an appropriate response, and they didn't interact with them with the respect that and courtesy, frankly, that I think our officers should interact with the public.
Yo, I'm big into straps. Strap on, strap off, lots of different straps.
Another point you made on Twitter yesterday was that maybe the situation for why the men were pulled over in the first place needs to be investigated. Have you spoken to Acting Police Chief Hamill about whether or not they're going to do more further investigations besides just the one officer who used the racist term?
I'm confirming that. I've made that request today. I have a call in to the police department on that issue saying that, look, let's look at the whole situation. You need to talk to all the young men, because one thing you don't see from the body camera footage is they're already engaged with several officers when this officer who used the disparaging term arrives. So there's obviously a whole set of circumstances before that. And so, yes, my urging will be that needs to be looked into as well.
Well, then stop crying. You act like a little girl.
Hey,
Act like a little girl.
that's not nice.
A shocking photo from an elementary school in the high desert showing these teachers holding a noose and laughing has parents outraged.
Well, CBS 2's Dave Lopez is live outside Summerwin Elementary School where the teachers work. And Dave, tell us what this is about.
Well, it is a very big firestorm here. It all happened within the last 24 to 48 hours, and there's been some action. The teachers have been suspended along with the principal. I am told that it was supposed to be a photo that was to be shared only within a few circle of friends. It was never supposed to go on social media, but it did, and then came the outcry.
The four women in this picture have been identified as elementary school teachers at Summerwin School in Palmdale. They are posing while one holds a noose. A second picture shows the noose hanging from a pillar inside the school's offices. And now, the fallout.
You know the meaning behind it, behind our history, and you know you're going to get backlash for it if it gets out, and it obviously did.
If you look at the picture, you could see that they're smiling, and even if it's a joke, you just don't play like this.
And according to teachers and parents, the woman on the far left in this photo, smiling with the short blonde hair, is Jennifer Garcia. She was the one who testified at the Gabriel Fernandez trial. We repeatedly tried to reach Ms. Garcia by phone. No answer. And the district refused to identify by name any of the teachers involved. Your teacher's in the picture?
Yes, sir. She's
Which
actually
one?
holding the noose.
And then he identified her.
I'll give her a name. I mean, eventually she's going to come out. Miss Jones.
Miss Jones.
Yeah.
And when you saw that, had you ever had a problem with Miss Jones?
No. I've heard she actually was a pretty good teacher for 20-some-odd years.
Outside the school today, parents, local activists, were outraged.
I was infuriated. I was worried that if he's okay and if anything's happening to my son.
It's time to move out of the state, move out of this area.
We came to district headquarters to get an on-camera comment from anyone, preferably the superintendent, but we were told there would be no statements made on camera to us. We did get confirmation that there is an investigation and that the teachers in the picture and the person who took it, allegedly the school principal, are all now placed on administrative leave. On leave, but with pay, pending a complete investigation.
Appalling, it's frustrating, it's beyond words.
Just a little while ago, a mother and a father came up to me and said that their daughter is in the first grade class of Miss Garcia, and they told me that Miss Garcia actually reported to work today in the classroom. But again, there were many teachers that were here, and when they saw her come in the classroom, knowing about the picture, they demanded that she leave, and she did. And then a short time later came the word from the superintendent's office that she and the other teachers in the picture have been suspended along with the principal. We tried to get any kind of verification from the school office, but no comment.
You said what?
I heard that y'all got a big car, and I was going to see one because my man has a little.
You heard who got a big car?
Black boy.
Black boy?
Yeah, we got some big over here. Yeah, you want to see this one? Want to see this one? Yeah.
Yeah, shit, baby, that black boy been had big old deal. I don't know who them fools is. We been had them motherfuckers done now. You finna show it to them? Shit, man, we had a big cock. That's all. Big. She said a big cock. I don't know what the fuck is a big cock. I don't know what the hell a big cock is. Shit, she want to see a big old dick, she say.
He got a musk.
What?
He got a musk.
What?
He got a musk.
What?
And here that just a few days ago was just covered in spray paint, and the neighbors are actually all very relieved that it's been taken off because there was some nasty stuff written here. But that was not the only damage. If you walk over here in this car, this is a lot tougher to get away. Smoke damage on this window, and then inside, something was lit on fire. This car was totaled. The pictures, too offensive to show clearly on camera, especially the racist language targeting African Americans. Amanda Miller, though, is white, just like the rest of her family, including her 14-year-old daughter, Brianna.
I've always tried to instill in her, be friends with who is good to you, like who is good to you. Make sure that, it doesn't matter what color somebody is, it doesn't matter what race they are.
Brianna heeding that advice and dating a young black man she met in church. That's why her mother thinks vandals came to their house and attacked their property.
It makes your heart sink. It's sad. It's awful. It makes you just feel like, oh my gosh, somebody has this much anger. What's next?
Thankfully, Brianna hasn't been home to see this firsthand. Her mom says she's visiting family in Florida. When she returns, though, her first stop will be at the sheriff's office, where Miller expects detectives to search through Brianna's phone and social media accounts for clues.
I don't want her to hide who she is. I want her to have a normal life like everybody else has. And I feel like this is going to kind of put her in a box where she feels like she can't get out of.
In addition to speaking with the deputies and investigators in Wayne County, the Miller family, they tell us they're also planning to speak with school administrators here. They still have some security concerns, even if they think it's probably best for Brianna to go back to school.
Yes.
I love these guys.
Dude, we're gonna rule the country. White power.
White
Fuck
power.
the niggers.
Yeah.
Fuck the
Fuck them all.
niggers.
Fuck them all. That's right.
Well, Dina and Steve, the Cubs actively working to track down that person who made that gesture during a live broadcast. That means tracking down who was sitting in that particular seat last night, cheering on the first place Cubs, while also creating controversy.
This offense has been hot.
The incident happened while former Cub Doug Glanville was on the air for NBC Sports Chicago. A man seated behind him flashed an upside-down OK gesture, which is said to be a symbol of white power. The broadcast cut to a graphic with stats, but the gesture was seen for several seconds. Some have argued it was just part of the circle game, which challenges a person's vision and reflexes, which is what this fan assumed.
I thought it was more of like a joke. Like there's the whole, where you put your hand below your waist and someone has to, break the circle. That's what I thought it meant.
If it is believed or suspected to be the circle game, then this person made a bad judgment call by using a symbol associated with racism above an African American reporter's head who's doing his job on live TV.
The Cubs have called the gesture ignorant and repulsive. The fan was gone by the time security went looking for him. The incident comes in the wake of racist emails earlier this year linked to Joe Ricketts, the patriarch of the family which now owns the Cubs. Outside Wrigley today, many Cubs fans are expressing dismay over what happened last night.
I don't know why anyone would want to do that, especially Doug Glanville. He's a great guy, but yeah, just not appropriate.
It's absolutely disgusting that anyone feels they can act that way at all, but especially on live TV. There's kids watching the game.
This is something that we're not going to drop. We're actively investigating this, trying to find out who this fan is and how they got access to those seats. They will be permanently banned from the ballpark.
The Cubs have already figured out that the seat belongs to a season ticket holder who sold the ticket to last night's game on the secondary market. We're told that Doug Glanville is aware of what happened behind him on the air. He has not yet offered public comment.
Parents of 3 teenage girls in Thompson want justice after they say their kids were attacked by 2 adults at a movie theater. The Thompson Police Department arrested and charged a man and a woman in the incident. News Channel 6's Renetta Dubose joins us now live with this story. Renetta, the parents say disorderly conduct is not a severe enough charge for what their children experienced.
Jenny, 3 friends went to see Pet Sematary last Saturday in Thompson, and during that film, the teens tell me 2 adults reported that some kids snuck their friends inside the theater without paying. Well, management looked into the situation and left, but after the movie ended, the teens say those adults took matters into their own hands.
We have to respect each other. What you talking about? To be always safe. No phone. You go to the movie, you open the door and show.
This cell phone video captures a group of girls and who appears to be Larry and Antonia Rader talking to the teens about who opened the exit door inside the movie theater. Although the person recording the video is laughing, a very serious argument ensues between the kids and the adults, and then one bystander captures this.
Hush! Wait, you hush. Who? There's a bunch of monkeys. You are mad! You know me! You're going to end up on the street doing drugs. No!
It's unclear what happens after that statement, but April 20th at the theater is very clear to these 3 girls and one mother arriving to pick up the crew who witnessed the unthinkable.
As I was running towards her, I see the gentleman hit my daughter.
Sherelle Yarbert says her 14-year-old, Takara Darden, texted her 15 minutes prior to the show ending like she always does. But when she pulled up, it was chaos. Darden says the couple came towards them very aggressively.
Right here on my face, and it was swollen that morning, but it went down.
The Raiders were arrested and charged with disorderly conduct, but Larry Rader tells us they were actually the ones physically hurt.
One of the larger, older teenage girls ran and knocked my wife over, ran over, knocked her down, pushed her down, and I bent over to try to protect her, and as I was doing that, protect her from being kicked and all that, as I got up, then one of them, either the same one or another one, knocked me down.
Comiskey Afu says her daughter, 14-year-old Micaiah Burnett, was sent to the hospital with a contusion to the eye after she says she was hit by 63-year-old Antonia Rader.
You harass these kids, you follow these kids, you put your hands on these kids. It'll be a different story with 2 grown people.
The parents are working to retain a lawyer, and they are adamant that they want to see stiffer charges. Now, the Raiders say they are awaiting their court date on June 11th.
Ladies, Tonya Nero of Trinidad and Tobago, like a blast from the past. Beats out Larry Merchant and Natasha Wada of Canada. Her time, 36 minutes, 36.49 seconds. What a run indeed. And kudos must go to the first Barbadian woman across the line, Amanda Maximilian.
They wrong, cuz. Look at us. Yo. They wrong, cuz. Yo, cuz, they wrong. What is they doing? Hey, Ansari, why? Whoa. Hey, I managed here, why?
Okay.
Oh, I have to report.
Okay.
Brother, I have to report you.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Thank you.
I have to get the license now.
Okay. We always give money. Okay, that's it.
Okay, you know a lot of.
Yeah.
I won't do the license.
See. Okay, that's it. No more. We always this done. Thank you.
Okay. Here, take this. Give me a 20 and we good.
Huh?
Take this 10 back and give me 20 and you dump everything.
Okay, no more. Okay? Thank you.
Sorry, first time, I don't know. Sorry.
I'm going to close my eyes.
Okay.
Why y'all do that?
No. We always 2P, you know.
Huh?
We always 2P1, you know. We always New Jersey, you know. We have dump there.
But you know that's wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Buddha watch? Hey, you know Buddha don't like that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Make sure you give Buddha an extra apple for your damn sins.
See.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yo, they tripping, cuz. Now, what we gonna do with this money? we're going to donate it to the lady that's sitting on this bench. Facts. And I want y'all to be a witness. So y'all won't be like, he took them people money. We're going to give it right to that lady right here. What I'm saying is, every time they do stuff, it's like they overlook. Like they sell us cats, they sell us dogs, deers. Google it. Google Chinese people selling deers. Pick the deer up off the road. The lady like, this look like my delivery truck. She follows the car. These niggas took the deer back to the damn restaurant and called the cops. And they had it in the sink washing it, bruh. And they overlook because they pay taxes in their business. You feel me?
All right, and we back on the forecast. Now, we have to understand that they get their power from brutalizing us. And as long as we allow them to do it, they're going to keep doing it. There are far too many that think that their one thing they have in this world is having power over us. But they don't have power over us. We have power over ourselves. The minute that we want it to end, really want it to end, it will end. Too many of us are afraid they'll respond with violence, but they have always responded with violence. The very first thing they always go to is violence. Right after the 13th Amendment was passed and the Civil War was over, the very first thing they did was become violent. Now that we aren't working for them for free, even though cheaper than everybody else, but the fact that we aren't considered their property made them resort to flat out violence. You have things like what happened at the Devil's Punch Bowl. They love to say the Union fought to free the slaves, but in reality, they were just as bad as the Confederate. The Union Army were the ones responsible for what happened at the Devil's Punch Bowl in Mississippi. They lied and said they would help black people get north and find jobs so they can build their lives. And over 100,000 black people went there thinking they were going to get help. But when they got there, they started forcing these black people into swampy, uninhabitable areas, and then they built concrete walls and locked them inside. The Devil's Punch Bowl was the first concentration camp in the 1860s, and these camps were designed to genocide black people. They separated the black men and forced them into hard labor, and if they resisted, they hung them or either shot them. Then they left the women and children in the camps to starve to death. The conditions were so bad you could hear them screaming for help far away. And it was so nasty, diseases were spreading everywhere. It got to a point they were begging to go back to slavery just to be let out, because they couldn't even take being in there no more. So many people were dying, and the Union soldiers wouldn't even remove the bodies. They would just leave them where they dropped. In just 1 year, over 2,000 people died. And to this day, bodies are still being found. And when it rains real hard, sometimes the body comes up into the lake and somebody finds it. But so many people through the years have been killed in that area, they can't even tell what era the body is from. And they never lost this mentality. In the 90s, a brother, James Byrd Jr., he was brutally murdered for no reason.
On a spring night 21 years ago, James Byrd Jr. was looking for a ride back to his Jasper, Texas home. The men who offered it to him viciously murdered Byrd in a crime that shocked the nation. Byrd's sister, Luvon Harris, says those 24 hours threw the family into a state of disbelief.
That's a moment where you have to repeat yourself and say, is this really happening? Because we just left him that day before at my niece's bridal shower. And as a family, we're a normal family, and then all of a sudden, the only problem he had that day was, am I going to be the only male in this bridal shower? And we laughed about it. I said, oh, of course he was, but that's how life does.
On June 7th, 1998, 3 white supremacists severely beat Byrd, even defecated on him, before they chained his ankles to the back of a truck and dragged him for 3 miles. A pathologist testified Byrd was alive for much of it, dying about halfway through after being decapitated and having his right arm ripped off.
It was a case that became known for its brutality. A black man dragged to death, chained to the back.
You deal with Payne, who was shocked and he was numb, he became very angry. Who gave them the right to say my brother's not worth living because he was born black, something he had no control over, and say, okay, you don't deserve to live because of that.
At the time, Sheriff Billy Rolls saw the horrific crime scene.
Well, it made me sick at my stomach. It's the remains of a human being that had been dismembered, and it was very sickening.
Sheriff Rolls says a witness saw a dark-colored pickup truck with loud mufflers barreling down the street. He spotted 3 white men inside and Byrd in the back. They dumped his body in front of an African-American cemetery. Word started to get around town, and Rolls said that witnesses led them straight to Sean Allen Berry, Lawrence Russell Brewer, and John William King. They were all tried and convicted of Byrd's brutal murder.
Testimony showed Byrd was offered a ride, then bound by his ankles with a heavy logging chain attached to a bumper.
Back then, Byrd's son Ross spoke up against the death penalty, expressing that the punishment for his father's murder shouldn't be more murder. Yet, Brewer was sentenced to the death penalty.
Alleged white supremacist Lawrence Russell Brewer has been executed for his role in the murder of James Byrd Jr., dying by lethal injection.
Levon went to his execution in 2011 and said Brewer showed no remorse.
I've never been to execution before. I never thought I'd be in this situation before. Of course, I never thought I'd be a victim family of a hate crime either. And so it was pretty eerie because to watch someone die, but it was also eye-opener just to say, how far hate would go. Would it take it to the grave, or would you find remorse and say my last breath on earth would be something positive?
Berry received a life sentence. After appeals, King was also sentenced to death by lethal injection. It is scheduled for April 24th, 2019.
I'm going to be there. I'm not going to watch it. I've seen too many people die in my life. But I am going to be sitting outside on the grounds when it happens.
Levon will be there too.
It still won't bring peace, won't bring James back, but it's justice was served because if in history you find out that very seldom you have 2 white men go to death for killing 1 black man. And so you have history there.
Byrd's family marked the 20th anniversary of his death last year.
Everybody now knows what a hate crime is. Back when this happened, it was a racially motivated murder, a civil rights violation. The man was murdered because of his race. But the phrase hate crime came out of this.
Sheriff Rolls says the incident tarnished the image of the small Texas town, a wound that is still trying to heal. Still, Byrd's family found a ray of light, starting the Byrd Foundation for Racial Healing. Its goal? To encourage racial unity through education and reduce the number of racially motivated crimes. But for the case that has haunted Sheriff Rolls, the town, and nation for 2 decades, closure can't come fast enough.
I'll be glad that it's over. That'll be the final act of this case. It'll be over with. When John William King is laid to rest, it's over.
But James Byrd's memory and legacy will live on.
James was a fun, loving person. He loved people. He loved music. And he also teased the family that I can see, I'm going to put Jasper on the map. And everything. And I keep hearing those words in his mind. Put Jasper on the map. He thought through his music and through his playing, never he thought he was a Wild Jr. would be because of his death.
Now, this brother James Byrd Jr. was just walking home minding his own business when 3 white dudes, Sean Berry, Lawrence Brewer, and John King, stopped and offered him a ride home. And this brother made the fatal mistake of thinking it was okay and accepting the ride home. Instead of taking his brother home, they took this brother down a dirt road into the woods, and then they ended up attacking his brother James Byrd. After they jumped him, the white boy Lawrence Brewer spray painted his face with black paint, and then they started to urinate and defecate on him. And then they chained his brother James Byrd's ankle to the back of a pickup truck, and then drugged this man for 3 miles. They turned off of the dirt road onto the pavement, and this brother was still alive most of the time he was being drugged. Evidence showed he was trying to protect his head as he was being drugged, but he ended up hitting a ragged edge of the pavement, and it ended up severing his head, his neck, and his arm. And then those 3 white boys took his decapitated body and left it at a cemetery at a black church for black people to find the next day as they were going to church. The police ended up finding parts of his body scattered in 81 different places. Now, these were some of the first and few white men to be put to death over killing a black man. But that same mentality hasn't gone anywhere and is passed down from generation to generation. In Flint, Michigan, a 5-year-old black boy, Jeremiah Caldwell, was set on fire by a 9-year-old little white boy.
He's not breathing on his own. They got him on a whole bunch of machines and he gotta have a skin graft Friday. He burned all on his own.
Hard to hear that from that mother. Police say a 5-year-old Flint boy is in critical condition after being badly burned. That's that little boy there. We spoke, as you heard from her just now, that boy's mother. She says another boy who lives in their neighborhood set her son on fire.
But police aren't confirming that information at this time. NBC 25's Joel Fike joined us from Arlington Avenue with what he is learning this evening. Joel?
Dave, police are only saying that the boy was critically burned. Beyond that, they're not saying too much about this case. But the mother of this little boy is saying that he was set on fire. Alicia Moss says her youngest son, 5-year-old Jeremiah Caldwell, is in the Hurley Medical Center burn unit right now, suffering from third-degree burns. He was playing outside when he was burned yesterday. According to Moss, Jeremiah, who's in preschool, was playing in front of the next-door neighbor's house with a 9-year-old boy when the incident happened. She feels the other little boy should be held responsible for what she claims he did to her son.
I was at church and my 15-year-old came in and said, "My Jeremiah on fire at home." I said, "What?" He said, "Jeremiah on fire at home." I flew around here and Jeremiah was still there on the sidewalk and he was burned real bad with a towel over him. When he got to the hospital, I asked him. He said he lit the fire and threw it on.
My thoughts would first go out to the family and the child, and my prayers go out to him and to the other little boy, which, you know, is obviously a victim of the streets over here.
Jeremiah will need to have skin grafts due to the severity of his injuries.
Now, even though there's not a lot of mainstream media coverage of this case, and the police don't have a lot to say about this case, and they are protecting this 9-year-old white boy, not putting any information out about him, but this 9-year-old white boy who lives in the same neighborhood set this 5-year-old kid, Jeremiah Caldwell, on fire for no apparent reason. And now this 5-year-old Jeremiah Caldwell is in the hospital. He can't breathe on his own, and he had to get a skin graft because he was completely burned all over. But not only are they protecting this white kid, not releasing his name, they never mentioned anything about charges. They didn't say anything about a punishment anywhere. Even one neighbor they interviewed called this white boy a victim. He said he was a victim of the streets. And it's not just our kids they do this with. They also attack our elders. Like that 21-year-old white girl, Hannah Payne. She ended up shooting and killing a 62-year-old man, Kenneth Herring.
There's a young lady. She's locked up after allegedly tracking down a hit-and-run suspect and then killing him. Clayton County police say she is now facing murder charges. Investigators tell 11 Alive she could have easily avoided jail time.
Clayton County police charged 21-year-old Hannah Payne with murder. Officers say it all started when she witnessed a crime in progress.
The witness to the hit and run.
Officers say a hit-and-run crash took place. They say 62-year-old Kenneth Herring slammed into an unknown victim's car and kept going. What about damage or injuries?
Not extensive damage on the vehicles.
No one was hurt. Officers say Payne saw Herring take off from the crime scene, so she followed him in her vehicle.
Was trying to intercede since the subject left the scene.
She was allegedly hot on Herring's tail and caught up with him about a mile away. And investigators say she cut in front of his vehicle, forcing him to stop.
Law enforcement experts say if you see a crime in progress and no one's life is in danger, be a really good witness. Make sure you call 911, give your location and a description of the vehicles or people involved. Then after that, let the professionals handle the rest. So in this case, should have Payne stayed in the car?
Correct. We recommend that people stay in the car.
Payne allegedly became more than just a witness.
An altercation then ensued between the two of them, and during the altercation, Mr. Herring was shot and killed.
Officers say it should not have ended this way.
Based on the facts and circumstances that come out during the investigation, they warranted the murder charge against her.
Well, tonight Payne's lawyer is calling this self-defense. However, she's going to have to explain that to a judge soon.
Police just released new information about a 21-year-old woman accused of shooting and killing another driver in the middle of a busy intersection. Tonight, she faces murder charges. Good evening to you. I'm Sinead Simpson.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tom Haynes. The shooting happened at the intersection of Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway in Clayton County. Investigators say the woman shot and killed another driver, but her lawyer claims it was self-defense.
Well, Fox 5's Denise Dillon just spoke with police. She joins us now live. And Denise, did the two know each other?
Yeah, police don't think they knew each other at all. And police are also saying that they don't think this is a case of road rage. They think it all started with a hit and run that involved a whole different party. Now, police say yesterday around 4:30 in the afternoon, there was a minor hit and run, and they believe that 62-year-old Kenneth Herring was part of that hit and run. They tell me that Hannah Payne, the 21-year-old woman who is charged in this case, witnessed that hit and run, followed Herring as he took off about a mile away. She got to this intersection, she cut him off and got out of her car with a gun.
An altercation then ensued between the two of them, and during the altercation, Mr. Herring was shot and killed.
Hannah appeared in court this morning. Her attorney talked to us after she was in court and told us that it didn't end up that way. He tells us that after Herring got caught off by Payne, she confronted him, and then there was a struggle. She says that Herring tried to pull Payne into his car. She had her gun with her, and at some point that gun went off.
Now this white girl, Hannah Payne, trying to be the next white girl George Zimmerman, she called herself a good Samaritan after she called 911 like George Zimmerman, and they told her to not follow this person or not approach this person. Let the police handle it. Just like Zimmerman, she ignored it and decided to approach him. This white girl, Hannah Payne, was speeding through traffic trying to catch this brother, then drove in front of him and cut him off in the middle of traffic. Now keep in mind, she wasn't involved in the situation at all, and nobody got hurt. There was no damage at all. But this white girl got out of her car with her gun, then goes into this brother Kenneth Herring car, starts punching him, trying to pull him out of the car in the middle of traffic where everybody can see. And then this white girl said the gun went off. Not that she pulled the trigger, but that it went off. At first she tried to say this man Kenneth Herring was the one who pulled the trigger, implying that he shot himself. But now she's saying the gun just went off during the struggle. And now she's claiming self-defense even though she is the one who started it in the first place. And she didn't even have no business being there. And even though they did charge her, they're still trying to protect her a little bit. They charged her with murder without malicious intent, as if she didn't get out of her car with a gun, trying to pull somebody else out of their car. She even tried to say this brother pulled her into his car. But what is she doing by his car door in the first place? And then after she shot this brother, she immediately went back to change her clothes. Almost like she knew she was going to shoot somebody that day. And now some of her family and friends are claiming this has nothing to do with race because she has black friends. One email says she's romantically attracted to black men, so there's no way she could be racist. But she still felt the need to chase this black man down for a traffic accident where no one was hurt and there wasn't even any damage, and then murder this man. And then probably use the same defense that got George Zimmerman off. And we'll see what happens with this case. But at some point, we're going to have to start taking justice into our own hands. We're going to have to start holding them accountable ourselves. We're going to have to build institutions so that we can give ourselves justice. Because at the end of the day, we are all we got. And if we don't put our tribal differences to the side, then the same thing is going to continue to happen over and over.
The facts and circumstances that come out during the investigation, they warranted the murder charge.
She was in fear of her life. She felt that she needed to pull that gun to defend herself.
Well, police call it murder, but the woman charged in the crime calls it self-defense.
Well, tonight, 21-year-old Hannah Payne is behind bars. Clayton County detectives say she crossed the line when she confronted a hit-and-run driver with her gun, and he ended up dead.
Fox 5's Jacqueline Schultz joins us live from Clayton County. Jacqueline, Payne's attorney is disputing the police version of events.
Yeah, she's describing, as she's being described tonight, as a woman who needed to defend herself from a violent man during the encounter. But police tonight are saying in the press conference that she was the aggressor here and why she ultimately was responsible for the shooting death of a 62-year-old man.
Hannah Payne, charged with murder without malice.
21-year-old Hannah Payne seemed to have tears in her eyes as she appeared in court for a charge of murder. Clayton investigators say Payne went too far when she drove after a car involved in a hit-and-run and confronted the getaway driver. 62-year-old Kenneth Herring shot dead.
Based on the facts and circumstances that come out during the investigation, they warranted the murder charge. The information I've received is that she was trying to get him to return to the scene.
Tuesday evening, Clayton police explained why Payne should be behind bars. Detectives say Payne witnessed a hit-and-run near Clark Howell Highway and Highway 85 when the 62-year-old hit a car and fled. They say Payne, a stranger, did call 911 and followed Herring for a mile to the corner of Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway, where she allegedly used her Jeep to block him in. Investigators say she got out of her car, had her gun, and confronted him. And during an argument and a struggle, her gun was discharged and Herring was shot and killed.
It just seems like it's an unfortunate situation of a good Samaritan trying to stop a person on a hit and run. She was in fear of her life. She felt that she needed to pull that gun to defend herself.
Defense counsel Matt Tucker disputes the police version of events and argues that Herring turned violent during the encounter. Clayton investigators say they're still investigating her version.
It's my contention that it was a struggle that ensued, and that's his part of pulling her into the vehicle and grabbing on her and making comments to her. She had a ripped shirt, she had scratch marks on her, she had a mark on her face. There should be handprints of his and hers on the gun.
Get out of the car now!
Why am I being apprehended? You trying to give me a ticket for your failure?
Get out of the car.
Why am I being apprehended? You just opened my car door. You just opened my car door. So you threatening to drag me out of my own car?
Get out of the car!
And then you gonna stun me?
I will light you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Wow.
Get out of the car!
Really, for a failure to signal. You doing all of this for a failure to signal?
Get over there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, let's take this to court. Let's do it.
Go ahead.
For a failure to signal. Yep, for a failure to signal.
Get off the phone.
On my school.
Get off the phone.
I'm not on the phone. I have a right to record. This is my property. This is my property. Sir?
Put your phone down right now.
Protests gathered at the Texas State Capitol following newly revealed video showing the controversial traffic stop of Sandra Bland. The 39-second cell phone footage recorded by Bland shows the moments before her arrest in 2015. She was found dead 3 days later, hanging in her jail cell. Her family is calling for a new investigation. Maria Villarreal is in Dallas. Maria, good morning.
Well, good morning. Sandra Bland's family says until recently they had never seen this cell phone video. Now, her arrest actually added fuel to an already heated conversation about how minorities are treated by police. Right now, you're going to get a first-hand look of how this arrest went down from Sandra Bland's eyes.
Well, you can step on out now.
I don't have to step out of my car.
Step out of the car.
As Texas Trooper Brian Encenia demanded Sandra Bland step out of her car, she grabbed her cell phone and began recording.
So you threatening to drag me out of my own car?
Get out of the car!
And then you gonna stun me?
You up.
The arrest was captured on dashcam video, but the cell phone video has not been publicly seen until now. Encenia pulled over Bland in 2015 for a failure to signal a lane change. The encounter quickly escalated. The 28-year-old was arrested and booked in the Waller County Jail. 3 days later, she was found dead in her cell. Her death was ruled a suicide.
Get out of the car now!
Why am I being apprehended?
The video was obtained by the nonprofit news organization, The Investigative Network. Bland's family says it's proof she should have never been detained. Encenia said he feared for his life.
This video clearly shows
from Sandy's vantage point that she was doing nothing more than asking questions.
Cannon Lambert is the family's attorney and helped them settle with Waller County and the state for nearly $2 million. He says prosecutors never gave him the video.
If they had it and they walked away from prosecuting, it is very difficult to understand.
Get over there.
Insania was fired after he was indicted for lying about the traffic stop, but the perjury charge was later dropped when he agreed to never work in law enforcement again. Chip Lewis represented him.
The tragedy that was this young lady's death should have never happened. It was not Trooper Insania's fault that it happened.
The Texas Department of Public Safety says this video is not new and they did not conceal it. Also right now, Democratic presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke, who is from Texas, as well as other state legislators, are asking that Bland's arrest and the case be reopened right now.
So Mia's car is getting impounded because she didn't pay $14 for her registration, but the registration is paid for and she has insurance. So this is the result of it. 4 people being detained. So he says, for what? I don't know, but okay. Cheers. Come back. So now you manhandling my daughter and you shouldn't be touching her. You're manhandling my daughter and you shouldn't be touching her? Really? Oh.
Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
Back up, man.
Get him off my daughter. Get him
off
my daughter now.
Don't talk to me like that,
man. Get him off my daughter.
Rio Vista Police Department's under the microscope this evening after this video surfaced showing one officer body slamming a woman to the ground during a traffic stop. Reporter Rachel Wolf tells us the family involved wants answers.
No.
This body slam at the hands of Rio Vista police was captured on camera during a traffic stop the evening of May 5th. Deshauna Payne heard her children had been pulled over on the way to the store a couple blocks from home and arrived with her daughter Cherish to ask the officer why.
A lot of questions that he didn't like and didn't want to answer, and he was just very aggressive.
She was told her other daughter, Mia, was pulled over for tags that expired 2 years ago, but she wanted to know why all 4 were being detained, and both continued to roll.
He addressed her and told her to put her phone up, and she said she had the right to record, and he hit, oh, okay, and hit her phone out.
So now you manhandling my daughter.
The officer takes her daughter down and she lunges towards them.
It made me go into mom protective mode.
Her son-in-law was recording from the back of the police car as the officer's partner then turned to her.
Mom! Mom! Mom!
We showed the video to former Sacramento County Sheriff John McGinnis.
The critical and fundamental question is, what was the basis upon which that decision was made? Was it proper? Was it reasonable?
He says all video, including body camera footage, must be reviewed to put the officer's actions into context. Rio Vista police sent a statement saying Deshauna and her daughter were obstructing an investigation. Deshauna says with 6 kids and 3 stepkids, she'd had run-ins with Rio Vista police before, but nothing like this.
You have these officers that are abusing authority, whether it's to just writing a simple traffic ticket to excessive force, and it makes no sense. It's unnecessary.
Rachel Wolf reporting. Now, Rio Vista police also responded saying the officer tackled the woman to the ground in order to gain control after she repeatedly tried to push past him. Authorities say body camera footage from both officers will be released in the coming days.
Thank you for recording because he can't. You cannot come in my home. I did not give him permission.
You did not. He was.
Thank you. Talking about it's an altercation.
There was no altercation.
I don't give a damn what you heard. I don't give a damn what you heard. You understand what I'm saying? No, because this is my home and this is my property, and I'm telling you to leave my home. Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
Or step outside.
There was no disturbance here.
There wasn't.
That you heard something, but this.
No, he didn't. He heard us talking loud because I'm a loud ass bitch. That's why. That's why. I asked you to leave my home now. Excuse me. Thank you.
Sorry, there's not a problem going on. I don't see why you
First of all,
stepping
you
in.
can't just walk in my
You know
home.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I understand what you say. You got
I know my law.
basically, but
Kevin, this man is not. He's nobody.
He is talking
I don't
as a
give a
responsible adult.
I'm talking as the person who runs this house. That's what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck about what you talk about.
Shut the fuck up! Now! You shut up! I don't care what he's talking about. This is my house. I pay these bills. You crazy? At your head coming up in my house? You must be crazy coming up in here. Talking about you heard something. You heard me talking. I talk loud and I'm aggressive. And guess what? You did not knock on my door. There's no weapons here. There's nothing going on here. And you are violating my rights, sweetheart. Right. Now, tell me that I'm fucking wrong. You can't, because I'm not wrong. You're violating my rights. You do not come up. Shut up! Shut your mouth! You do not come up in my house. You do not come in my home without my permission. Period.
When I get called,
I don't care what you got.
Hey, I don't care.
I don't care what you got. Because guess what? If I hadn't just came in the house and smoking a cigarette, this door would have been closed and your ass would have had to knock. You do not fucking come in my house without my permission. With your white ass, and I'm black, and I'm scared of you. So guess I don't care. Right. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
That's why you're screaming.
I'm screaming because I'm screaming because you're in my space. This is my home. This is where my kids live. How I know you wasn't coming up here with a fucking gun? Black people killer? How do I know that? I don't. So guess what? I'm aggressive. I'm being hostile, like you guys call us, because you done came up in my home. Go get my lease from downstairs now. Like I don't know my rights. Stop playing. You got the wrong black girl on the right day, baby. What do you want? What do you want? There's no problem. What did I say? There's no problem. I got this. I got this one.
No,
what do you have? What do you want?
You guys can just walk out because there's no problem here.
What do you want?
That man is the intelligent one in this house.
What do you want? Guess what? You about to walk out my home though, because I know my rights.
Yeah,
bye.
No,
bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Shut your ass up, Kevin. Do what I told you to do. Goodbye. I know my rights. Right. They cannot walk in my home. Because if this door was closed, they would have had to knock. Don't ever do that again. Thank you. I don't give a fuck. I know my rights. You guys are beating him up! You guys are beating him up! Why are you beating him up? Why are you beating him up?
I know you are.
Calm down, Clarence.
No,
sir.
He don't even know my name and tell him I have a warrant.
What did he do?
That's what I'm saying.
For what?
For what? Warrant from Louisiana. For what?
For what?
Yeah. I don't even live in Louisiana, so how would I have a? You don't know my name, so how can you tell me I have a warrant in Louisiana?
Sir,
stop.
Clarence,
coming. Okay, but you don't even know me. I already got you. No, you don't even know me. You don't even know my name. I'm under control. Why would I trust you?
Hello. What? I'm confused. He don't even live in Louisiana.
No. You don't. How can you tell me I have something and you don't know my name? You just pulled up in front of my house and I don't trust because you shaking like you scared or something.
Okay.
You shaking like you scared.
He don't live in Louisiana.
I don't even live in Louisiana. How the hell would I have a warrant in Louisiana?
Quentin, you already said your name was that.
My name is not Quentin. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Sir, his name is not Quentin.
Fucking Quentin.
Then let's see the ID and we'll be done.
Okay, hold on.
You told me three different names. You walked up and told me three different names.
Hold on.
That's the third name you just no. No, I'm not gonna be the next nigga you kill. No. Stop.
His name is not Quentin.
Fucking Quentin.
Then let's do this and be done. I got no probable cause. I got
you just stopped in front of my fucking house.
Yes, I know who you are.
It's you don't. What's my name? Man, fuck that. You shaking like you scared. I'm not gonna let you put me in handcuffs.
Please stop. Please stop.
My name is not no fucking Quentin. You don't even know my name and tell me I got a warrant in Louisiana?
Okay. Yes. You want me to show you the picture?
Show me the picture.
Okay, wait.
Just walk with me. Walk with me.
No.
Please, he's not going nowhere. He's not going nowhere.
I need your supervisor.
I am the supervisor. Come on.
Well, let me see your stripes. Well, I need to know. I need somebody
here to front of the car.
No, you're not going to get me to your car. No.
Sir.
Fuck that. You in my yard on my property. Fuck that.
Calm down. Just calm
down.
Stop.
You stop.
Who are you looking for? His name is not Quentin.
Let me see your
ID. You think I'm from because I got dreads or something?
No.
You just pulled up in front of my fucking house and told me I got a warrant in Louisiana. So what? That's my fucking dog.
That's our dog. That's our dog. Go in the house.
Look, man.
Sir, that's our dog.
I don't want you touching me while you shaking. You need to step back and calm down. No, fuck that.
Sir, his name is not Quentin. That's our dog.
You just told me 3 different names. No. You pulled up on some bullshit talking about I got a stolen dog. My dog is chipped.
That's
I got a chip in my dog.
We have papers.
Since he was born.
Okay. Let me see the ID.
And then you talking about some shit in Louisiana. Then you say my name is Quentin. My name is not no fucking Quentin. I'm not telling you my name, but it's not Quentin. I'm not telling you my last name.
The units come here. You put your hands behind your back, then. Okay?
No, fuck that.
Sir, what did he do anything?
This is the shit I'm talking about. Behind the fucking dog that's mine.
That's our dog. We can go get you the papers.
You just seen me walk out my house and then just came and put it in front of my yard.
Oh my God. Sir, who are you looking for?
Because you say, can I
get my phone out of the car?
Then you got him running.
Get my phone out.
Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
Man, fuck this.
Let me show you this.
Please calm down. Who are you looking for?
Fucking me?
Yes, I want to. I want to do this so we're done and over with. Okay? Okay?
Okay, well, you shaking and you
no, you're pulling on me, so just, okay. Right here, we're good. Okay. Here's the deal. Doesn't that look a lot like you?
No, that don't look like
that's
me.
Not
what the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Calm down.
What you trying to say? Because I got grass and I'm black, that's me?
No.
That's not him.
You fucking, she can see that's not me from over
there.
No, stop. We got no problem.
My name, you ain't got no problem with shit. You ain't, man, fucking
no,
shit.
Please stop. Stop.
Two of y'all, it's gonna take more than
Please stop. Please leave him alone, please. No, please, that is not him. Please leave him alone.
Man, get out my yard,
I need to report on this. I need to report.
No, you need to get the fuck out of my yard. You just said I'm somebody named Quentin. You got grass and he black.
Come on.
What the fuck is that shit?
Okay, come on.
Nah, fuck that. Okay. Now you want to leave, right?
No, I want to do a report on this.
No, you need to get somebody here that's over you because you just made the biggest fucking mistake.
Why?
How the fuck you pull in front of my yard because I'm black with dreads and tell me I got a warrant?
Okay. No, he just
racist.
My kids was out here.
No, my fucking kids.
Okay. Oh my God.
Well, you need to get the source that's over here.
He's my son.
Oh my God.
The picture didn't look like.
But he didn't even ask him his name.
Don't leave now. Now stay here. Let me see that picture.
Okay, gear down for this one. We're going to show you some video that is really disturbing, distressful. Police in Hammond, Indiana, smashing a car window and using a taser on the front seat passenger. All of this just starting out from a routine traffic stop over a seatbelt. What may be a little different from some other things you may have seen, 2 kids were in the back seat when all of this happened, and you can hear as this unfolds how traumatized they were. Have a look.
Yes, my mom. No, I'm not making it worse now. I'm scared for my life. Because he just pulled a gun on us and we don't have a gun.
Just so you know, we got
Go ahead.
Here. You're on a body mic.
Go ahead.
I suggest you come on out the car.
Go ahead.
You a white shirt?
What's that?
A white shirt. I'm asking for a white shirt. I don't know what's going on. I just gave him my information. I don't know what's going on now.
Right. That's what I'm.
It's who?
Listen. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay.
I don't know what's going on. I never got out of the vehicle from being in the passenger side. You know what I'm saying?
I never got. Insurance. I gave it to him. Okay. Now he asked the man.
Y'all got white shirts here?
Sitting beside me. He asked
y'all got somebody in charge of y'all.
He said he didn't have any ID.
Well, I just gave him my information.
So they asked him, and I said,
I just gave both of them my information. Y'all got my information, right?
I don't have my license. I mean, if you're gonna give me a ticket for no seatbelt, if you're gonna give me a ticket for no seatbelt, right here, then just give me a ticket so I can go to the hospital because the doctor called me to tell me to come in because my mom is about to pass away. All right, so I guess he's looking for his information in his book bag. When he digs in his book bag, they pulls a gun out. What was the purpose of a gun? And now they asking me to open my door so I can get out. I'm scared. If you can pull out a gun in front of it's 2 kids in the back seat. If
you understand?
Yes.
All right.
No, don't mess now they're about to mess no!
I'm not the operator in this vehicle, so if you do that, all right. I'm not the operation in this vehicle.
Are you gonna open the door?
Why do you say somebody's not gonna hurt you? People are getting shot by the police.
Oh! Damn!
That was crazy. That is horrible. This is a horrible situation right here.
Wait, this are you recording that?
Yeah.
This is terrible. This is crazy.
Take it out, man.
Oh, no.
I told y'all my kids in the car, man. Why would y'all do that?
Angie, come on.
Talk about what, man?
Come on, climb.
No.
These police is crazy. They can bust out the car window and everything because they couldn't have a seatbelt on.
And now to video you saw exclusively First on 10. Chaos on campus. A student appearing to kick an officer in the head, and police say it all stemmed from a fight. The all-out brawl breaking out between 5 girls at Homestead High.
Now, 2 of them are facing criminal charges. Local 10 News reporter Christian De La Rosa is live in Miami with what one of the girls' mothers is saying. Christian.
Well, she's telling us that she is livid. As you said, there were 5 girls involved in all of this, but only 2 are facing criminal charges. One of them, this woman's daughter. The second one, take a look at her mugshot. This is 18-year-old Sharday Pittman. She is at TGK in jail tonight facing charges for battery on a law enforcement officer after being seen on cell phone video kicking a school officer's face. A student kicking a school officer in the face. This disturbing scene, part of a larger school brawl. A girl fight, throwing punches and pulling hair. School police officers stepping in to break this lunch hour melee at Homestead Senior High Thursday.
Well, the girl came up and hit my daughter in the face.
Sherelle Lee telling Local 10 News, it all started when her daughter, seen pinned down by the school officer, was jumped by 2 other girls. She claims a student seen trying to push the officer off of her daughter was trying to defend her before the kick. 5 girls total got in trouble. School officials responding tonight, saying in part, any behavior that endangers the well-being of students and staff at Miami-Dade County Public Schools will not be tolerated, will be handled swiftly, and result in severe consequences. And where that behavior involves battery on a police officer, as it did today, offenders will be arrested and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Students will also be disciplined according to the Code of Student Conduct, up to and including expulsion.
Grinnell will serve a total of 60 days behind bars. That decision was made by a judge this morning after hearing from the victim's mother and from Grinnell himself, who said that he's ready to answer for what he did. Fear for his son's safety. This is the explanation Jordan Grinnell gave to a Virginia Beach judge in response to why he punched a teenage boy in the face. The assault happened in June while Grinnell's son and Timothy Vickery faced off at an oceanfront sand soccer tournament. The boys were on opposing teams and both went for the ball during a play. Witnesses say the boys got aggressive with each other, which is when Grinnell stepped in, throwing Vickery to the ground and punching him between 2 and 4 times in the face while he laid on his back in the sand. Grinnell was arrested and Vickery treated for his injuries. In court today, his mother took the stand saying her son hasn't been the same since the attack. He still has a scar on his face where he was punched and is now unable to play soccer, a sport he loves, without fear. Grinnell apologized to Vickery and his family for the assault and told the judge he was ready to answer for what he did. The judge says she took Grinnell's prestigious Navy record into account while deciding on his sentence. But since this was an attack on a child and should have been handled differently, she ultimately decided to sentence him to 60 days in jail. Vickery's family did not want to talk after today's proceeding. During a previous interview, they had this to say about Grinnell's actions.
When I got to my son, he was bloody. His eye was swollen. His right eye was completely swollen. And he was just kind of in a daze. At the end of the day, my son is 14 years old. He's an 8th grader. He doesn't get hit by us, let alone some stranger.
Grinnell is allowed to serve his sentence over the weekends. He will first report to Virginia Beach City Jail on October 19th.
A Gwinnett man will not go to prison despite holding a teenage girl hostage in his home for more than a year. Police arrested Michael Wieselowski in 2017 after a 17-year-old North Carolina girl was found in his Duluth home. The girl's father says she was being held captive and he controlled every aspect of her life, including how many calories she ate. The man is now charged with cruelty to a child and false imprisonment, but he pleaded out on first-degree cruelty to children. He got credit for jail time that he had already served.
With an investigation, all right?
We're not interfering.
Because
I'm walking on the sidewalk, bro.
You worried about something? No, you worried about something that ain't got nothing to do with you.
I think it's hilarious.
All right?
You guys are wasting all these resources on pulling over somebody that ran a stop sign.
Get you some business, bro.
I got business.
Yeah, nah, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Obviously, you don't.
What is happening? Are you guys trying to say we got like I said, 4 officers over here? Don't you got better shit to do on New Year's Eve, bro?
Hey,
this
like
is
I
ridiculous.
Said, when you get through.
Through with what?
Keep walking.
Watching my fucking public officers wasting time, bitching me
Keep
out.
walking.
I'm gonna stand here and talk however I want because this is fucking America. I'm not on the street. Oh, are you kidding me? All right, hold on. I'm gonna stand here. Hey, you back up off of me, bitch. You think?
Hey! Hey, back up.
I'm not doing anything.
Back up.
I'm not going anywhere.
Back up.
I'm not going
Just
anywhere,
back up.
Mr. Evans.
Yeah, just back up. Just back up.
Hey!
Just back up.
Yeah, you are. What the fuck?
Back up.
This is my brother, dude. I'm
Just back up.
Exactly. What's going on?
Back up. Back
This
up.
is my brother.
Back up.
For what, you motherfucker?
I'm just asking you to back up.
Fuck off of me.
I have a right to film.
You got a right to film, but back up.
I'm filming him, so I'm here. I'm backed up as far as you pushed me. This is unopened, by the way. This is. I've already answered that question several times.
That's the 483-581.
Why do you have his knee on his head?
They're detained. Well, he's being arrested right now.
Why? Why is he being arrested?
For what?
I'm not interfering with anything.
You're gonna be interfering.
Hey. I asked you to stay right here.
I'm still.
Stay right here.
Yeah, I smell alcohol in your breath.
Yes, because I've had a drink.
It's called public intox.
No, it's not.
Yes,
it
is.
is.
What?
Yeah.
She crashed into a truck and she just tried to flee the scene and crashed into my wife and kids. Don't treat her don't treat her comfortably. Treat her like you do anybody now. Treat her like you do anybody now. Treat her like you'll treat anybody. There we go. There we go. Just treat her like you'll treat anybody. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Calm down, babe. That's all I ask. I don't know what you under the influence of. No, don't hate. Yeah, wrestle. Hey, punch in that shit, wrestle. There we go. Wrestle. You gonna wrestle some more?
Okay.
Wrestle some more. Wrestle some more.
Take her to jail. Period.
Wrap up some more. And we need paramedics. My kids are hurt, sir. My little girl can't even feel her shoulder over here.
What are you doing?
I got 115.
Okay. You help. Help me.
That's the first thing he gonna do too.
But what he?
She hit the truck back here.
Where's she at?
Hot sunny morning, 98, the 7th of June in Jasper, Texas. After breakfast, people walked to work or to church to hear the pastor's message. On a road called Huff Creek, found it tough to speak because what they saw left them gasping and breathless. The broken body of Byrd. And sure, you probably heard the story. It's rather gory, and if you follow the words, you can somewhat get a picture. But can you really picture being chained up into a pickup truck and drugged until the street ripped your arm off and decapitate you? And the ones who perpetrated this act, for the simple fact that you were black, they had to hate you, mad at nature, because she made you beautiful. And that's irrefutable. Like the fact that crack, street pharmaceuticals is genocide to blacks. And although this attack on Byrd left the whole world disturbed, a few years back, it was common and not unusual for other brothers to get done like that. And the irony of it all, y'all, was Byrd was often heard saying that he would put Jasper, Texas on the map. But Jasper, Texas put him on the map, figuratively and literally. Despite the insanity of this calamity, his family refused to respond bitterly. And considering the circumstances, what riddles me is, we rallied to save the killers, but who rallied to save Byrd?
All right, and we back on the forecast. And I want to say RP to the brother James Byrd Jr. and the brother Kenneth Herring and all our brothers and sisters who have suffered injustice. We have to understand the position that we are in. We can't allow outsiders to come into our communities and harm us. White society used the guise of protecting white women to come in and destroy our neighborhoods. We have to protect our women. When they really are violating our women, we have to protect them. If our women and children aren't protected, then we can never truly be free. White women and white men stay on code no matter what. And they've justified so many black deaths based on the code of them protecting their women. They have historically raped, robbed, murdered, lynched, tortured, everything to our women. And if we can't get on some kind of code to protect them, then it's going to continue to be easy to divide and conquer our community. And when we get on the same page, we'll see that we can't be stopped. It can't be just one leader, because if you take the head out, the body dies. But if everybody is the movement, then you can't stop it. And when we build institutions, believe me, more people will follow. But we have to learn how to protect what we build, because at the end of the day, they will come to try to destroy it. But when we realize who we are, and when we realize we're all we got, there is nothing they can do to stop us. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.